our second fight of the night, we have Christos Giagos versus Arman Tsarukyan. We have Tsarukyan fighting out of Armenia. He's on a 3-fight win streak coming in the lightweight division at 155. However, I believe he missed weight his last time, so it'll be interesting to see later on this week if he makes the 155-pound limit. He's high as 5'7" with a 72.5-inch reach. His opponent is Christos Giagos. He's coming in also at 156. Of course, in the lightweight division at 5'10", 3-inch height advantage, and also 1-inch reach disadvantage for Christos Giagos. Zach, I'll let you hit this one off the bat. Let's go, brother.
Excuse me, I muted myself to burp while you were introducing the fighters. I fucked that up a little bit. But I don't know, man. I hate to waste people's time. And I think that going too far into depth on this fight would largely be a waste of people's time. Yeah. Because I think Arman Tsarukyan is going to win this one pretty definitively. Now, I don't mean that to disrespect Christos Giagos, in any way, shape, or fashion, because the dude he's no slouch. He can hang on the feet, and he's a really decent grappler. He's a pretty good grappler in his own right. But looking at Arman Tsarukyan, the guy can really do everything. The first time I saw him fight personally, I actually thought he was a stand-up guy until I went back and watched some of his previous fights and realized just how good the grappling is, man. I think he's probably going to have the advantage, even if only slight on the feet, but have the advantage in every aspect of this fight. So wherever it wants to go, I don't really see him losing here. He's only got one loss in the UFC, I believe, to Islam Makhachev. And if you look back before that, his last loss was 2015. So I think the guy's on a pretty good trajectory in terms of his career. The way that Islam Makhachev has rocketed, I think we could see Arman Tsarukyan start making his way through the ranks, because I think he's a really difficult matchup, even for the really talented guys at lightweight.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. But, I want to get into a little bit just so our viewers know what they're kind of getting into, if we're going to put some money on the line, especially with the heavy minus money on this fight especially. But the best way I can lead this off is this is almost exactly like Drew Dober versus Islam Makhachev, but Arman Tsarukyan versus Christos Giagos, right? I think this is going to be the same kind of fight. I think the pressure and the forward pace and the grappling is just going to be too much for Giagos to handle. Not to say that he's a bad grappler. He's a really good fighter. I don't think he's top tier. I don't think he's top 15 yet. But that's not to say that he shouldn't be in the UFC, because he definitely should. He has showed skill. Like Zach said, Islam Makhachev went 3 rounds and arguably his toughest matchup in the UFC, and nobody's even come close since that against Arman Tsarukyan, where I say Tsarukyan definitely won the first round. Coastal won last 2, but came on a different unanimous decision loss. But he gave Islam Makhachev, who we think is going to be a future champion, fits in the octagon. He basically outstruck him the entire time, and he's outstruck many other opponents too. And he's a very fluid athlete, not to mention that his grappling is on level with any of the Dagestanis, Khabib, Islam Makhachev. I just think that he has so much skill. I think this is probably one of the most slept on fighters in the entire UFC. No doubt about it. And I think if we could possibly be seeing a championship matchup versus Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev in the future, depending on how these guys' futures go. I mean, I'd love to see it, because that's how good these guys are, and they're so dominant in their matchups, not against each other.
No, I agree. And remind me what you told me earlier about the takedowns in that fight, Islam Makhachev and Tsarukyan.
Tsarukyan actually took down Makhachev more the first 2 rounds. But there was a definite, I think the reason why Islam Makhachev won the fight was because in the last 3 minutes of the 3rd round, he was actually able to outmuscle him and grapple him for the last couple of takedowns.
Yeah, I believe that Makhachev didn't even really have a successful takedown until that third round. And
No,
then
I
he
mean, it
really
was
just started
close, and
pouring it on.
it was mostly Tsarukyan who was doing the takedown of Islam Makhachev, which is saying a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
that was, if you like grappling, that was a grappling clinic, and you should go watch it. It's on ESPN Plus for y'all out there.
No, and I absolutely support the idea that you put out into the atmosphere that that rematch for a championship belt at 155 would just make for such an entertaining match. The stories there, the skill is beyond there, and having something on the line just ups the ante on all of that. But I think that's all we really got for analysis. Let's go look and see if we're going to play this fight.
All right, pal. This is going to be a rough one for us here on the board of betters. All right, where are we at here? Am I missing something here? You see it? I'm not.
Yeah. It's at the top of your screen right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, like I said, yeah, big money this week, but Arman Tsarukyan coming at minus 650, heavy favorite. I mean, minus 650 is even generous. I've been seeing plus, minus 700 plus out here this week. Christos Giagos plus 540. I mean, this is a tough one. So I think one thing to mention is, once again, this is a lightweight bout. So there is knockout power, and there is definitely, I'd say, a play for not going the distance here. Zach?
See, I think I lean slightly against you on that and tend to side with Vegas, to where I could see this one being a pretty intense grappling matchup. And then I could see Tsarukyan, even having one of those dominant 10-8 rounds at the same time. Like, I could see this one get close to a finish and not quite get there. So I think I'm going to lean a little bit towards the fight does go to decision. But at minus 150, I don't really see any need to play that. All of the over-unders are a little bit disproportionate to their value on the off chance that they don't hit. So I don't know. Tsarukyan wins by decision at minus 125. I think that's a lot better odds than minus 650. And I think it's important to note at this point that even at minus 650, that's a pretty valuable parlay play if you want to link it up with some of the other bigger favorites on this card. And we're not going to mention it, but Raquel Pennington is the featured prelim bout. And at minus 122, I don't see any reason why you couldn't tease those two together to get yourself a little bit better odds and hit both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I think I'm gonna play Tsarukyan big balls in Cowtown at minus 650. I know that's a lot, but I'm almost guaranteed he's gonna win that. I'm taking that all day. I don't think he loses, not a shot, right? And
No, I
then
agree.
I think you couple that with plus 165, he wins inside the distance here, man. It's not favorable at minus 650, obviously. You're not gonna make a ton of money, but you've coupled that with, wins inside the distance at plus 165. It'll bring it down quite a bit. I'm not sure what the math is right now, but I mean, it's worth a shot, really. I mean, I think if I go back, let me go back real quick and take a look at Giagos. His last, I feel like he got outlasted in some of his last losses. Like, he didn't make it into the final couple rounds. I think he gasses out, if I recall correctly. I can't remember too much, but you want to correct me on that?
Yeah, I think the gas tank at times has been questionable because he's such a power wrestling, moving forward at all times kind of fighter, which we know tends to empty that gas tank a little bit quicker. But the point I want to make is I think it's funny that we're both pretty much set on Tsarukyan winning this fight. I really don't have a whole lot of doubt that he wins this fight. But realistically, looking at the odds for Giagos, I'm almost willing to hedge my bet on this one because just in the off chance that he does win, that's going to be a big money bet.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see it. I mean, you could hedge your bet pretty nicely on this one. I'm not going to lie to you, but I just nobody's definitively beat Tsarukyan yet in the UFC, right? I mean, even you could argue Islam Makhachev didn't beat him. I think it's so close. I think he's so good and so underrated. Except for the minus 650 favorite, but
no, I agree, man. And I think this is a guy that, like we had already kind of noted, could be making a run and getting some notoriety but behind his name by stringing together some of these wins. Because Christos Giagos is, I mean, not the biggest name, but recognizable. If he can get this win, it's definitely a solid one to add to his resume.
yeah, well, that's not happening because it's big balls in Cowtown out here, folks.